since 2002. Now let's quickly get introduced to GNIMS through this video. I request the IT team to play the video.
SGPC's GNIMS Business School is an integral part of the Khalsa College established by Shiromani Gurudwara Prabandhan Committee in 1937. Located in the heart of Mumbai, it has a state-of-the-art infrastructure. And offers a plethora of courses in management. With an esteemed industry faculty and two strong pillars and a unique pedagogy with experiential learning that involves mental, physical, social and emotional activities. An intensive international internship in partnership with 17 international universities. An innovation startup entrepreneurship center that promotes startups, 95% placement with 150 plus recruiters, makes the GNIMS alumni happy and well placed. GNIMS has won several awards, including being a consistent winner at AIMS. Our campus has produced many stalwarts. Thank you.
Vijay, do you have anything to say? I'm guessing you raised your hand by fault. So let's move ahead. First of all, I welcome Dr. Kiran Yadav, Professor, Marketing Management and Director, GNIMS B School. Also, the GNIMS admissions team, the IT team, and the team from TEDx Educom. Last but not the least, I have to mention that it has been a pleasure for me to serve as an academic coordinator at this reputed management institute. Now, we are all well aware of the times that we are in and the times that we are venturing into, which is why I would like to thank you all for connecting with us through this webinar. Now, the topic for today's discussion is international internships offered at GNIMS. As this is going to be an extensively interactive session, I request all of you to openly discuss your queries with our team. Today, we have with us a prolific individual, Dr. Kiran Yadav, who will address and guide us throughout the session. Dr. Yadav is an alumnus from Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies with over 3 decades of professional experience serving the aviation, banking, consultancy, distribution, education, and travel and tourism industry in various capacities. Along with running his own company, he also teaches at Jamnalal Bajaj. Dr. Yadav, with your permission, shall we begin?
Sure.
Okay, so through some questions and answers, let us have an interactive session. Friends, please feel free to interrupt and ask any question you may have in your mind. Yadav, sir, to start with, please tell us how is GNIMS different from other management institute?
Yeah. Aditi, first of all, thank you for your kind words and introduction. And welcome to all my young friends who are MBA aspirants. I can roll myself back to to 1980, when I was seeking to do my management education, at which point of time there was only one institute in Maharashtra state, and that was the Jamnalal Bajaj Institute of Management Studies. And the only other options were the IIMs and FMS Delhi and various other places of management education. It's only at the time that I was passing out, suddenly four more institutes were introduced by the University of Mumbai. And times have moved on from there to now, where we have more than 75 management institutes in Mumbai University alone. So, welcome to the world of competitive management. And uh, firstly, let me congratulate you to having thought of enhancing your skills by trying to opt for a management program. Why do I say that? Because in today's world, uh, especially post-pandemic scenario, only those who can deliver, only those who can manage, only those who can take decisions and make things happen will have a future career that is established, strong, and rewarding. Everyone else will have a huge struggle. Coming to back to Aditi ma'am's question in terms of how is GNIMS different? Honestly, when we started looking at the PGDM program for GNIMS, we thought, what is it that we can offer to students that which is already not on offer in the market? Because with so many institutes around and so many players offering the same package, how can we make a difference to the aspiring student? And then when we did a survey and we spoke to many young people like you, what we realized is that uh, today's generation is far more aspirational, far more knowledgeable. They are groomed to be able to take quick decisions. At the same time, they get confused because everybody seems to say that I'm the best. And how do you choose the real institution that you think will add value to your career rather than join the crowd and go by what various publications, various other forums declare as winners? Okay, supposing if somebody had to come up with a list and say which are the top 10 institutes in India. Now, the point is that once you start with, if somebody keeps some of the IIMs out, obviously they are not going to like it. If somebody keeps the ISB out, they are not going to like it. If somebody keeps Jamnalal Bajaj out, they will say this is not valid list. So the whole game of looking at an institution has changed. And when we were doing this, we realized that one of the most important thing that we must consider is, apart from what students want, we must see what the companies want, what the recruiters want. Because ultimately, when a student does and passes out an MBA after 2 years, they need to start their career with somewhere where they can build a foundation and somewhere where they can start making good money. So,
Absolutely.
what is it that companies value and what would they pay good salaries for? And when we looked at those companies, they said, we want people who can think, who can problem solve, who can define a problem, and who can make good quality decisions. So we took a step back and said, how do I incorporate a curriculum that will help somebody build their ability and skills to be able to do all this? The second thing that we heard from companies is that we do not want people who come with excess baggage about, I know everything. We want people who are willing to learn, who are willing to blend into our culture, and who are willing to take the risks within the defined frame of the corporate culture. So then we said, okay, how do we make students aware and how do we prepare them for this type of role? And finally, most of the big companies which are there in India today are aspirationally multinational. They want to establish themselves across the world. Okay, India is different from what it was 20 years ago, or say 40 years ago when I did my management. Now, every Indian company doesn't look at a local market; it looks at a local plus a global market. And therefore, many of them felt that they would like to have students who can stand up to these challenges, who can stand up to going international, who can blend and help the company build overseas bases. And we want students who could easily take up these roles. So we said, okay, this is something else that is very important for companies. And therefore, we decided and we came up with our own teaching methodology and plans. One thing we did is we said, let's try and get an international exposure for every student who joins the institute. So we worked our way around and we collaborated with various partners across the world and said there are two things that we want to do. One is we want our students to get internationally exposed, and two, we want them to actually stay there and work for a long period of time so that they are able to pick up what is the reality of an international market and they are able to use it back for their career in India. And therefore, we came up with the concept of an intensive international internship. So instead of doing an internship in India, many of our students do an internship overseas where they actually go and work with companies full time. And in order to reduce their burden, we have tied up with universities in that locality. What the universities do? The universities provide accommodation at a cheap rate. The universities provide them the facilities of their university, and they also provide senior professors as mentors. So somebody like a local guardian whom students can go to and get help. And while doing so, they can also parallelly do a program in the university and get additional certification. So this is how we took care of the international. And let me tell you, I'm not aware of any other institute in Mumbai that offers such a program. I think Vijay, did you raise your hand by mistake or on purpose this time? Okay, so I think it may be uh, uh,
By mistake.
Vijay, I think you're getting a little fidgety fingers. So it's quite okay. That happens when you're about to look for a management institute to join. So we took care of that part and we essentially have tied up with several international partners whereby our students can actually opt for projects overseas, get qualified and selected. We coach and train them so that they will get selected. And then finally they go there and do their internship. And believe you me, these students suddenly have moved far away from the average salary band. Okay. And whatever money they invested in their international internship, they have recovered multiple times in the first year itself. So that's one unique thing about our program, Aditi. As far as the other parts are concerned, in terms of how do I make people ready for the industry and accepted by the industry, we have gotten the concept of project-based learning. What does project-based learning means? Project-based learning is a concept where everything that you learn, you have to apply it to a live project, either in the industry or it may be a social problem. Anything that you learn, if you learn a particular model, okay, you should be able to apply that model to a relevant program in the industry. Now, this happens two ways. We get the industry to come and share their problems with us. I'll give you a typical example. State Bank of India collaborated with us and said, we have a problem. What was their problem? Supreme Court of India gave a judgment saying that you cannot use Aadhaar, you cannot force the customer to give you his Aadhaar card, and you will have to do business with that customer without insisting on an Aadhaar card. Now, the entire IT system of State Bank of India was based on Aadhaar card as a base, because Aadhaar card at that point of time had collected the maximum amount of information that was valid, verified for every person, and that had become a baseline. And when the Supreme Court gave this judgment, suddenly their systems became non-functional. So we, Vijay, you have a question? Are you saying hi to somebody else in the group? So I can pass on your message if you wish. Okay. I I don't know what Vijay is up to. Okay. Anyway, so our students worked on this problem, and believe you me, the younger you guys are, the smarter you are. They came up with 5 different solutions, and the head of IT of State Bank of India was so impressed, okay, that he actually implemented that solution in State Bank of India. So if you know now, State Bank of India has managed to validate every customer without insisting on an Aadhaar card. And many other banks have followed that. Obviously, that led to many propositions and job offers to our students who had worked on those solutions. We did similar something for BEST. We've done something for Adroit Pharma. We've done so. Every time we encourage our faculty who's dealing with the industry to ask them, do you have a problem that we, our students could help in looking at? And for the industry, it's very simple, because they may accept the solution or may they simply throw it out. But if what does it do to our students? In order to come up with a good, valid, strong solution, you have to match your abilities with people who have been in the industry for 20, 25 years. You get to deal and learn from them. You get to listen in, and then you get to apply your additional knowledge, your innovation, and propose to them. Even if your solution does not get implemented, the amount of learning that you have in the bargain about that industry, about how it works, about the culture of that organization is invaluable for them when it comes to recruitment. So, project based learning and international exposure. These are the two unique factors we have in GNMS PGDM program in our business school that I think many others are still struggling to catch up. Of course, state of the art infrastructure, good faculty, everything
Right.
everybody has. So that's my take. If we can do these two things well, I think we have a edge. That's the main edge we have. Does that
Perfect.
answer your question, Aditi? I hope so.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So, is
Anyone
there
else? Heaven, do you
anyone?
have something to ask? Or should I ask on behalf of you?
Oh, you're welcome to ask questions the way you.
Okay, so
Okay.
on behalf of
Uh,
Kevin,
yeah. Okay.
should I ask, sir? Or
Sure.
some?
Sure. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. If
Mhm.
Kevin wants you to ask, I don't have a problem.
What are the most, how do I put it? The most unique offerings of GNIMS? Our USP. What is it?
So, as I said to you, the most unique offerings of GNIMS is the methodology of how you learn. Okay. The fact is that until now, until graduation, all of us mostly are trained to look at the syllabus, study what is important, find out what are the questions most often asked, prepare our answers for those questions, give our exams, and get our marks. Okay. In the
Right.
pandemic, that has become objective based, multiple choice. Okay. So it's a what you call a Markswadi system. You know, the marks count and nothing else. If you don't get good marks, you're rated as a uh, poor student. If you get excellent marks, then everybody says, wow. One of the things that we have done away with at JNM is this business of marking people superior or inferior. In fact, when we take admissions for our business school, the PGDM program, we give only a certain amount of weightage to your entrance exam scores. In fact, many of the students haven't even passed their entrance exam. But if in the course of our discussions with them, we find that they have the potential, we find that we could mentor and help them build their careers and get good jobs, okay, we simply admit them and take it up as a challenge. There are many students who have given their entrance exam after taking provisional admission, and we've also helped them to do well in the entrance exam. And then once we feel comfortable that this person, so what is that we look at a student? We look at how curious they are, how energetic they are, how how much commitment are they willing to make, how much fire in the belly they have to succeed. Do they want to become good quality leaders, managers? Do they have the drive to take on difficulties and do things in spite of obstacles? If that spirit is there, then everything else does not matter. Your language skills don't matter, your mathematics skills don't matter, your scores don't matter. What matters is the real you behind your scores. Okay,
Right.
so that's the most unique thing about GNMS. If you look at the graph of
Right.
the industry, you will find that most successful businessmen in the world are not PhD doctorates. Most of them actually have struggled to their education, but and have given it up midway. But their sense of commitment, their sense of getting after something, their sense of being able to do business, creating that acumen, I think that is what has driven them.
Right. Right.
Aditi, can I just turn the table around because I think I need to ask people in this group, okay,
Go ahead. Yes,
all
sir.
the students who are there,
Mm-hmm.
how
Sure.
many of you, and just raise your hands if you don't have to answer, respond in any other way, think that you want to make a career in marketing. Okay, finance. Okay, sorry, I think Kevin put up his hand. Okay, Kevin, thanks. Finance. How many of you think that you want to make a career in finance? Okay, no one. Uh, no one wants to count the money and use the money because that's where all the you know real strength comes from. What about HR? Okay, let me ask Tejas. What is it that you want to do? Tejas Matre. Are you there, Tejas? Okay. Kevin, what is uh, marketing? Great. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now in marketing?
So, sir, basically, when I look at myself currently, I'm into marketing and branding. So, 5 years from now, well settled in one of the top companies at a good position in marketing.
Yeah. See, basically, each one of us, when we get into a management institute, okay, our aim is to broaden the scope of our career and to seek a place where we can make more money, deploy our skills better, and be able to create a much bigger impact in terms of our own status in the society, as well as what we can deliver to our customers. And I think a management education should be the one that equips you to be able to achieve that. And I think that's the mainstay of any good program. Yeah, Aditi, you have any other questions?
Spoke about the infrastructure, intensive programs that we offer. As we call them, the mentorship program, the structure, project-based learning. You've spoken about that. But question also may arise, what is the difference between a PGM, MBA, or MMS? What should a student do?
Okay,
How to choose?
let me quickly address this. A PGDM program generally is a program that is approved by what is called as the AICT, All India Council for Technical Education. So it's an approval which is sought from the central government. A MBA or an MMS program, a Mumbai University would call nomenclature it as MMS, Master of Management Studies. Pune University would call it a Master of Business Administration, an MBA. Basically, the entire syllabus, the entire programs are almost identical. The names are different. But if you take an MBA or an MMS, they are normally affiliated to a university. And if you take a PGDM program, it comes from the central government. When the IIM started, okay, they were not part of any university. Therefore, the government came up with this concept of having a board called All India Council for Technical Education, and all MBA programs came under AICT. So what the IIM's nomenclature, their MBA program was PGDM, Postgraduate Diploma in Management. Okay, and they felt that they are creating managers for the future that will serve the industry. Okay, so as long as they have a PGDM, they are well accepted, and all of us know that anybody would give an arm and a leg to be a part of IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, or Calcutta, and automatically they are accepted in the industry as one, as or more than the IITs for careers. Subsequently, PGDM programs were also allowed for those who could meet the criteria set up by AICT. Now, what's the main difference? In a AICT driven program, it is up to the institute to come out with its curriculum, its teaching methodology in consultation with the industry. And then this is given to the AICT board for approval. The AICT board asks three questions. Is the syllabus relevant? Do you have qualified and competent teachers to teach? And will the industry fetch employment? And if these three criteria are satisfied, AICT gives an approval. In Mumbai University, the syllabus is set by the university for all the 70 colleges that come under it. And you can't change that syllabus unless Mumbai University changes it. So these are the two basic differences. Secondly, because industry prefers to deal one-on-one with institutions, they come with their problems to a institute and say, can you give me 26 trained credit analysts? And I want them to know the following. And then they will give a syllabus. And then I may say, listen, I don't have a GST expert in my faculty today who can teach it. Because 2 years ago, we didn't have. So they said, okay, that faculty we will provide. Okay. So we take that faculty from the industry, we prepare a curriculum, we prepare a syllabus for that particular subject, we go to the AICT and say, this is what I want to do. And if AICT says, okay, this is what you want in your course, you have the necessary right people to teach it, what is their background, what is their qualifications, and will they get jobs? Who will employ them? And I say, listen, I have 5 companies, Edelweiss, blah, 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 who are willing to take these people. So this, okay, go ahead, incorporate it into your syllabus. So the agility or ability and flexibility to quickly change as the world changes is more in the PGDM program. That obviously makes the PGDM program a little bit more expensive because a lot of R&D has to go into it. Okay, but it also makes the PGDM program very rewarding for the students. By and large, you look around anywhere and you will find that the salary packages offered to PGDM students is far better than that what a MMS student will receive in Mumbai. Take for example our own institute. The average package salary package for a MMS student is 4 lakhs plus, but the average package for our PGDM students is 4.5 lakhs plus. Okay, given all the vagaries. So, uh, okay, now there is a question that most people have in mind. Especially parents raise this question. After doing PGDM, can I do my PhD? Of course, you can do your PhD, provided the PGDM that you're doing is AICTE approved. If you are going to an institution and the PGDM program that you are going to undertake has been approved by the All India Council for Technical Education, then that is absolutely equivalent for you to be able to do your PhD. So that question also has been resolved by the University Grants Commission and Association of Indian Universities. I hope I have answered.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, about the international exposure that these students get, could you elaborate a bit on that? As in, which countries are there
See,
where our students
we,
have been?
we started this recently, about 3 years ago. Okay. Unfortunately, last year, due to the pandemic, in spite of our students being selected, they couldn't go and do their internships overseas. And it
Okay.
was a very dejecting factor for them. But we have about 17 universities across the world whom we have primarily tied up for providing the base for our students. So these universities are in the US, in Europe, in Australia, in South Asia, in Far East. What these universities do is they are able to accommodate our students in their premises, and they are also able to provide them with guardians and other qualification support. What is the procedure? We are part of a global group that looks for interns across the world. Okay, so they come up with a list of internships that are available in various countries, and these internships will have different topics and different trust and themes. Our students, we being a part of the global network, get an opportunity to look at which country, which company, what internship is available. So, for example, 6 of our students, year before last, went to Denmark. Okay, why did they go to Denmark? They went to Denmark because there were 6 companies in Denmark that were looking for interns who would do projects in Denmark for them. Now, our partner in Denmark at that point of time was Aarhus University. Now, Aarhus University also happens to be one of the top 50 universities in the world. So they have a world-class campus, they have a world-class facility, and they have a world-class team of professors and teachers. Aarhus University hosted our students. A senior professor from Aarhus University became their guardian, and incidentally, this professor is someone who is writing a book on how to do business applying something called as a B star model, which is the latest model that is being used by all multinational companies. So all our students also enrolled for his B star course. So few hours a week they would attend his lectures, and understand the B star model. Rest of the time, they would go to their respective companies and work on their projects. And these projects were far fetched. Someone was working on internet solutions, someone was working on agriculture, someone was working on manufacturing, and each one of them completed their projects, gave presentations, got certified by the international company, and also got certified by Aarhus University. They stayed in Denmark for 7 weeks, completed their project, after which 1 week all of them decided to have a vacation in Denmark. So they went cycling all around the country, finished that, came back to India, and resumed their next semester. What happened after that? Where are these 6 guys? Interesting for you to find out. If you go to our website and find out who
Yes,
are
of
these six
course.
guys, where have they been, you'll find that either they have set up their own companies as startups in collaboration with partners from Denmark, or they are holding extremely challenging and rewarding positions in the companies that they have been recruited by. Okay, because uh, one of the factors that the recruiters told me, that it is unusual to find Indian students with Denmark exposure, and that is one market. It's one of the most innovative markets in the world, and least knowledge is available about that market at the lower level. So getting students ready made who have already spent 8 weeks there, because when they ask the students, okay, tell me something about Denmark, and these guys have actually stayed there and known, and they have interacted with the locals, they are in a far better position even than me to be able to talk and explain. So that what gets them the edge in the recruitment. Okay, so but to get selected for that internship is not a cakewalk. Okay, those companies who are going to give you that internship are not going to just accept you because you apply. There's a process to it. If there is 10 internships available, there may be 200 applications. That's where GNIMS role comes in. Okay, we try to prepare and help our students focus, understand, identify, and put themselves in a position so that they are in a preferential mode for selection. Okay, they are able to impress, and this internship preparation doesn't stop there. It's the platform that is created for their final placement. So that's the major part of the international internship that
Exposure.
adds value to our students.
Perfect. Perfect. Now, sir, let's say a student is going for PGDM in our college. So this during these times in the lockdown, is there a loan facility? How do we help them out if there's a
Okay.
financial issue?
Uh, okay. That's a very good question that you asked, and thank you for picking this up. We have strategically in a very good position because our institute is not horrendously expensive. We are less than half the price compared to our competitors, and what we offer in comparison. Neither we are too cheap. Okay, but we are in a position where any student who opts for our program can get 100% finance from State Bank of India, who's our partner, or if their parents choose and say that no, we would like to fund our child's education, we have various schemes. In fact, during the pandemic, we offered parents ability to pay in installments. Okay, so it eased their burden. And
Mhm.
you see, a child's education and development, we are a partner in it. Okay, so it's a two-way street, and we understand the pain that comes, but at the same time, we have the responsibility of providing quality education at no compromise. And therefore, the fees have been structured in such a way that we are able to balance both. Okay. For example, with all these facilities, our fees for 2 years in a PGDM program are 6 lakh rupees. Okay. Some of the MMS colleges charge more than 6 lakh rupees
That's
without
true.
any obligation to give any of these facilities. Okay. A person who goes to Europe or US for that 8 weeks, including his flight ticket, including his visa, including his stay, including his certification of having undergone a program out there, will hardly range between 2.5 to 2.75 lakhs, which is a steal. Okay. There are many students, parents who come to me and say, "Sir, can I go with my child?" Because even if I go and get a chance to go and stay in US or UK for this long period of time at this cost, okay, it's fantastic. Because normally it would cost them anything more than double of that. But because of the fact that these are students, we have worked out relationship with the universities and the companies. That's the privilege that GNIMS is able to bring to its PGDM students.
Right, right. So this is a great add-on. As a student, let's say I don't have a laptop or a tab of my own, will I get a device from the college?
Earlier, what happened is that we used to have a fee of 6,80,000 rupees, in which we were providing every student an iPad, a latest iPad, and we were also providing the student with a 1 week international exposure guaranteed. Okay, but because of the pandemic, in spite of losing heavy amounts of money, we had to cancel those because the countries that we had the tie up with wouldn't allow students to come in. So we refunded the money of the international IB, and we also refunded a certain amount of money for students who did not uh, take the iPad because they said, I already have an iPad. So this year, what we have decided is that we will charge 6 lakh rupees, and for those students who sign up for the international program and the iPad, we will charge them 80,000 rupees extra. So we may probably have a batch. See, what has happened is our education system, especially in the pandemic, just before the pandemic, we had extensively started using Google Classroom. Okay, and all our
That's true.
professors and students were very, very, well versed with the nitty gritty of Google Classrooms, and so were our students. And these iPads came in so handy for students to be able to connect, to make presentations, and to be able to seamlessly be in touch with the institute 24 by 7. Now, because of the various requirements, because of the change in the scenario, we have kept it as an option. And those who sign up, we will be providing them the same facility at that price.
Yes, yes.
And
Handy information.
we have 5 batches. I presume at least
Mhm.
3 of them would go for a full-fledged program. Other 2 batches, for people who already have their iPads, who already been overseas, may not want to join in. So fine, we are willing to cater and flexible for both.
Of, of course, of course. Unless anybody else wants to ask anything, I have one last question to end this with. Priya,
Yeah.
Ashwini, Veronica. Veronica, you've just joined. Do you have anything to ask? You think you might have missed on? Feel free to speak up. Okay. So
Yeah.
finally,
Veronica, you have a very sweet DP put up there. Okay, a very pleasant,
and
uh,
recognizable.
yeah, an attractive face, I would say. Okay, sorry.
Okay. What what are the principles that we as GNIMS stand for, or what are the expectations from the students? Our expectations from students.
As I said to you, uh, in GNMS, we follow a very basic principle. In fact, the theme that we have set up for ourselves for this year is moving beyond the disruption. going beyond disruption. And the philosophy to do this is the 3R philosophy of GNIMS: refresh, reboot, and restart. Okay, which stands for being able to take adverse conditions and change them into your favor. This philosophy goes in our selection process, our training process, and our application in terms of trying to build careers. What does that mean? When we are looking for people, we understand that every person comes with a certain amount of inbuilt talent or plus points that the other person may not have. Being a good English communicator is an advantage, but being not able to talk English fluently does not indicate that you cannot become a good business person. Normally, whatever a person lacks in one area, the person has definitely compensated in another area. So each person has his own strength. Okay. And we believe that we will respect that. So, therefore, at the time of admission, our focus is the person honestly committed to progress in life? Two, do they demonstrate the willingness and the energy to learn, to work hard, to make things happen? Three, are they prepared to face challenges that we create? Because that's a training process. Okay. Or are they going to complain and give excuses? If these three criteria we feel that the person qualifies, then that person is in. Now, because of this philosophy of ours, it throws a lot of challenges to us. We get people of various backgrounds, vernacular background, uh, people who have done very well in their studies, who are very well spoken, good communicators, very polished, coming from. We have people who come, whose parents move around in Mercedes cars. At the same time, we have people whose parents are BST bus drivers. Okay, but for us, they are all equal, and our job is to create a scene whereby that person is now able to move to the next level. And therefore, we look at whether we can train them, whether we can mold them, and whether we can prepare them. So 90% of the initiative we have to see in the student. Then everything that we put together works. Right? I don't care. I've seen people with 96 percentile score, okay, doing miserably once they have passed out from their management program. And I've seen people with 35% percentile, okay, um, rocking. They are just. So what does a business management person require? A business management person doesn't have to be above average IQ, but they have to be above average in commitment. Our program teaches people how to make best use of their skills, how to discover themselves. Okay, everybody can't be a runner, everybody can't be a singer. Okay, as they say, you can't make fish climb trees, but to be able to know that you're a fish or a chimpanzee, each one has his own benefits, and each one of them has their own strengths and can excel in their area, is what at GNIMS we try to facilitate. Is that so? We are
Yes.
open. I mean, I don't like to write off anybody and say नहीं नहीं यार ये तो पागल है, इसका तो स्कोर कुछ नहीं है, इसको क्या लेना है. Okay,
Hmm.
who are we to write off people. If they come, if they show a promise, if they show the commitment, we are ready to take on the challenge. What's the point in running a coaching class?
Management Institute. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's the point in running a coaching class where all the people who join you, minimum cutoff is 95%, and when they pass, they have scored 96, 97%. The challenge is when you get a guy with 35%, and when he passes, he has got 75%. That is what is the difference. You know, you have to take a raw diamond and polish it into a sparkling, valuable thing. Okay, it may look rude when you take them in, but if the commitment is there, if the preparedness is there, if the spark and the energy is there, you're in. Everything else can be managed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So if there are no more questions, Aditi ma'am, then allow me to sign off and wish
Sure,
everyone
sir. It was a great session.
okay. Let me wish every one of you all the very best, whatever you choose to do, wherever you choose to be.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh, take care of yourselves, stay healthy, stay fresh, and have a great life. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining in. Thanks for coming in. Wish you all the best. You may leave the meeting.